My god, guys, have I got some amazing stuff in store for you if you keep watching. Let's start off with the name of the daily challenge, which is called Safety First. And all explosions and towers that shoot all over the place are banned. It's park path from around 45 to 79, and you start off with 10,000 cash. And you're only allowed 12 towers max, which really didn't matter too much. I mean, unless you really wanted a bunch of really crappy towers. But I don't see why you would do that. Anyways, let's talk about the strategy really fast, and I'll get to something a little bit more interesting. Really fast, all I did was I basically started off with 2 super monkeys. Glue gunners are pretty much unnecessary, but they helped a little bit in the early game. The late game, they really didn't matter at all. And I got a couple 3-0 boomerangs and just a couple roboplasmas, and that's pretty much all you need. Everything else is just me showing off, I guess. All the banana farms, and you don't even need any banana farms. If you notice, I ended up with $100,000 at the end of the game. Totally unnecessary, but obviously I just like to farm. It makes it fun, it makes it more challenging. Even simple daily challenges like this can be made a little bit more difficult and a little bit more fun when you do things like that, like you do some intense farming. Alright guys, that's really all I got for the strategy, but I will be talking about something else which is kind of cool, and I promised you guys I'd talk more about stars. Now, my next video is probably going to be something having to do with somewhat to do with stars, and somewhat to really not do with stars. Maybe black holes for the next video. I haven't really decided. But for this video, we're going to talk about, first of all, there's 4 main types of stars. There was like little dwarf stars, there's main sequence stars, which are like 90% of the stars in the universe, are like dwarf stars in main sequence. And then there's giants, and then there's like, I don't know, it kind of depends on what you look at, but there's like giant super giants or super duper giants. You know, people talk about these things like whatever they want. It's just kind of common terms. I'm just going to use the terms giants and super giants. And basically, I talked about the life cycles of the bottom 2 stars, the dwarfs and the main sequence. Now I'm going to go over the super giants and just the regular giants. And first of all, I'm going to go over the giants, which I think are a little bit more interesting than super giants, just because they explode. So first of all, you start off with just a regular star, kind of like a main sequence star, but it has a little bit more mass than a main sequence star, probably about 5 times, 10 times the mass, right around there. And what happens is, once it runs out of helium, it does the exact same thing. Once it runs out of hydrogen, I'm sorry, it does the exact same thing where it starts fusing things into helium and higher elements, for example, carbon and oxygen. And then after that, you can actually get fusion into even heavier elements, for example, iron, pretty much anything up to iron, which I think iron's like the 26th element or something like that. And the reason why it doesn't make anything bigger than iron is because, remember how I was telling you guys that energy is released every time you go to a higher atom? Well, that's actually untrue once you get anything past iron. It actually takes energy to make something bigger than iron. And then you wonder, oh, well, how did all that stuff get created? I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, so we have basically a giant star fusing everything into iron and all this random stuff in the star. Usually these stars have like sections in the star where they actually fuse different things. Like in the very center or near the center, they fuse iron. A little bit farther out, you know, the heavy, little bit lighter elements, and then near the edges it starts fusing like oxygen and carbon, the little bit less heavy elements. And basically once it runs out of all those things, gravity starts collapsing it because it doesn't have anything pushing out. And once gravity starts collapsing it, it basically collapses on itself so far that it explodes. It basically implodes. There's so much pressure and stuff like that. There's nowhere for it to go except for completely and unbelievably obliterating and exploding outward in a really cool, awesome explosion. We have actually seen supernovas. Usually they're really far away. I'm actually hoping that in my lifetime I can see Betelgeuse explode. Probably won't happen, but if it does, it'd be freaking sweet. You could literally see like a second sun if Betelgeuse exploded, and Betelgeuse is really close in astronomical terms. It's not really that close, but in astronomical terms, it's really close for a supergiant or giant. And this guy's going, when they explode, they release so much energy, and that's how all the really heavy elements like uranium, plutonium, all those really high elements, anything above 26 pretty much, is made. And it also scatters all the carbon, the oxygen, everything else, the hydrogen, the helium. It scatters everything out into the universe. That's actually how our star formed. If you notice, we have elements on the Earth that are actually heavier than iron. So, you know, iron's like the heaviest, one of the most abundant elements, obviously, in the Earth's like crust, not in the crust, in the core. And most of the other elements like carbon, oxygen, those are pretty abundant. And then you have some of the less abundant ones, like anything above that, like especially in the 90s and the 100s. Those are kind of getting rare. They're uranium, plutonium, all those. Those are also really radioactive and do decay. So that's another thing about them. So yeah, that's pretty much the life cycle of a giant star. I will be talking about the supergiants in the next video, and those are kind of cool. If you guys liked my talk about the giants and you want to hear about the supergiants, press that like button. I'll definitely appreciate that, and I'll be talking about them in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.